Hey there, Professor Yeager's Geography 1301-011 class. My name is Aaron Delgado, and this is my Geography in My Backyard project. So for my project, I decided to go ahead and visit the Crown Ridge Canyon Natural Area. So as you can see on the Gaia GPS map, the purple line is the trail itself, and it's 2 miles in length. And the same place that you start is the same place that you finish. And it's one giant circle, if you will. So now, when I went to the natural area, I was observing ephemeral rivers and chemical weathering. And so I have never been to this area before. So when I went, I took an excess amount of pictures, which you may notice throughout the slideshow, but it was just so that I can gather as much useful information as I could. So when I came home, I could definitely look through it and see what I wanted to use and what I didn't want to use. And if you look at this example over here, I have for the start and finish. I used a gray dot, and you'll see this throughout the slideshow, and that will basically show you where we're at when it comes to looking at the trail in person. So if you ever want to go yourself, you can sort of see where it is or have an idea. So going to the trail, this is just what it starts, and you can see the maps over here on this little podium. And as you go through the trail, it's paved, man-made. But the first part I want to show was this valley. So now this valley is not man-made, but it's made by chemical weathering, or rain itself, if you will. Um, and you can see it on the Gaia GPS map when it comes to topographic features. So right here, it sort of falls down and it ends right here. But you can see where the sharp decline is, and you can see that in the picture I have right here. And it follows this line with my cursor going straight across to the right. And that's a really good example of how the water has basically fallen down the hill and then it's fallen into a valley, creating a river. And since the river isn't always running, it makes an ephemeral river, meaning it's going to run whenever rainfall occurs. Uh, So the next part I want to show you is basically the same part on the guide GPS, but another example of how steep the decline into the valley is. And you can see this here where the trees are basically growing out the side of the hill going down, just because it's been such a slow process of the chemical weathering over time. And this is basically the trail. It's still man-made, going further and further. But then right here in this middle, you can sort of see where the weathering has happened to it, and this basically removed all the sediment, and then the trees are no longer are showing the roots now, meaning that over time the trees will most likely become uprooted and just die, or they may extend the roots down further, but time will tell. But over here on the right, you can see an ephemeral river that's formed over time. And you can see that a lot better through this picture over here. So if you look at the Gaia GPS, it's right here on one of the topographic features. And the ephemeral river, you can tell it's a ephemeral river because there's no sediment left, basically. It's all been removed as water or the river has flowed, and it's basically left bare rock over time. Uh, and you can see that it goes straight down here as the all vegetation has been not completely removed, but has been removed in a good amount of excess. And so then looking over here on this topographic feature for the Gaia GPS, you can see that there's a point in the map where it meets with the trail. And it's a really cool feature. So right here they have it bridged off with all these with all this not plywood, but with all this wood. Um but I climbed over it, which I shouldn't have. um it's all for the grade. But as you can see here, there is basically a break off from the mountain. And so this was probably done through weathering, or this is probably done with ice wedging in between the mountainside. Because although here in San Antonio we don't have a lot of cold weather, when we do, it will cause rocks and mountains to have great divides. And you can see that here on this right side picture of how basically it's been a real abrasive break on the side, but as time has gone down and water has basically it's rained, the water has smoothed out the rock, and it's basically made this really gradual decline until right here where it's really sudden. And on the left side, you can see where the river flows through. And this is just the river going up the, not river, but this is just going up the mountain. And this is proof from Professor Yeager that I did actually go with my boyfriend. This is him here. His name is James. Then over here is an example of the top of the mountain. And basically, it's right here on this peak, and it's the highest part of the mountain trail that you hike. But basically, it just shows how wide and big this valley is when you're in person. This part is the last one, but basically it's a bridge that connects these 2 points or these two different levels. And basically, it's a giant ephemeral river that runs through here when it rains. And I thought it was really cool because in San Antonio we have a lot of ephemeral rivers, we just don't actually really notice them. Um, and it's really cool if you have to go in person to see it. Uh, but here's the address to the park and everything. If you ever want to go yourself, from Northwest Vista to the park with no traffic or barely any, it's a 14-minute drive. So if you're ever looking for something fun to do, I definitely suggest you go. Uh, Thank you for watching.